Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Harmony. I am a twin flame expert and I'm on a mission to help twin flames around the globe face fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. I'm super excited for today's topic and 3 degrees of separation and surrendering to the silence. This is a huge, urgent message from the divine. I am understanding. I actually had another topic to discuss, and this jumped ahead. I'm being told it's time to get this information out there. It is needed. I had some validation over the weekend. This is needed. A lot of validation yesterday, so I want to get straight into this and start to share with you some things that have been shown to me so that we can learn how to embrace the silence. And when we embrace the silence, it's learning how to basically love and accept ourselves, and also love and accepting the dualities in the idea that it takes the silence to make the music. So it's all perfect. If you don't have silence, you don't have music. If you, block that, from your mind and you try to run from it and you try to fight the process, you're prolonging it and you're creating such a resistance. And that resistance is blocking you from shifting through the expansion of some of the later halves of your ascension work. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like this message is needed to be gotten out there, because so many people are going through the ascension work. So many people that I've even been working with are getting to this point and this level of reaching, a lot of deep soul work. They're reaching the enlightenment, and they're like this next phase, and they're the next stage, and they almost think, well, I've already done enough, and why is everything not working, and why is my twin not showing up, and all these different pieces. One thing I do want to say about the twin, so when, in the dualities of silence, we need the silence for us to go within, to work within ourselves. At the same time, we want the goal of that to become breaking the silence, so that it brings it into form and brings you and harmonizes you and pulls you together. That is a duality. We have to have the silence to go within. Yet that will help break the silence that will bring into form what it is you're seeking. And the goal here is to realize that what you're seeking is already there, and all you have to do is get in alignment with it. And that's going to be about what my message is going to be about today, to help you hit those last 3 degrees of separation here and go within in order to create that oneness of self, which is a portion of one of the 3 degrees. I'm going to talk about those 3 degrees in a second, but I want to tell you a little bit, just for a second, how this topic came about for me. I was literally working recently on these 3 degrees, and I, just like everything else, I get pieces and I get the process and I go through it and I live it, and then I got dots and I'm processing and I'm integrating, and I get all these things, and then all of a sudden stuff comes through, and then I have a different higher conscious awareness just like everybody else, and it collides, and then you see the big picture. Then you go back through that picture and you start to, I'm starting to work on the next book of Twin Flame Codebreaker. It's going to be a trilogy. I thought it was a sequel. It's going to be at least a trilogy, could be more. And so as I was working through that information, paralleling my own experiences, again, from another higher conscious perspective, seeing some things from a different level and realizing that this needs out here now. Can't wait till I totally get everything done. So anyway, I was out on a walk as I was doing this soul work, this dark shadow work, and this expansion work, because it's all dual. We got to have the shadow and the light, And I happened to notice this clock that had stopped at 11:08. And this was around the time me and somebody else I was working with, which her and I together doing a lot of personal work with each other, has also been the part of the expansion we both have needed to pull and bring this information into form so that we can go teach it. And so it's a beautiful thing, and this has been pretty recent, like I said, so this is like being called out there really quickly. So this is urgent. So please take note of this, because this is, like, what I'm about to share is something that is going to be very, very informational to you, I hope, and I want to hear information from you in comments to see how it's impacted you. Okay, But so I saw a clock that had stopped on 11:08. And with the sequence of events that was happening, and I was seeing the number 14 around that time, I knew, based on other stuff I won't go into, but I knew 14 was completion, and it broke down to, well, I'll tell you, it broke down to a completion of a 7 for the masculine side and a 7 for the feminine side. And then that together created 14. And this was all happening at the same time I saw 11:08. And also was completing some expansion work, like I said. So I knew there was it was like 3 minutes away. We're 3 minutes here from hitting 11:11. 11:11 is merger of union, okay? And let me just say a couple pieces about that. There's merger of union and merger of reunion. And like I'm going to be having information on this too. There's a big difference in that. And so basically, I talk a lot about I'm not going to go into great detail on the 11:11. A lot of that information is in Twin Flame Codebreaker, the book that you can get to get more information. But basically, the 1 and the 1 is on the right side is the masculine side coming together, creating unity of oneness of self. And on the left side being the feminine side, masculine, feminine within self, creating union of self when these are both balanced and harmonized within self. Once that happens within self, then that creates the reunion of the twin flame, reunion of the merger of the twin flames into reunion. And so, you know, and this just struck a chord with me. And what I realized in the work that I've been doing and the things I've been doing is that, you know, basically, in a nutshell too, 11:11 represents harmony. It represents unity. It represents oneness. And so out of that scenario, I came up with 3 degrees of separation. That is what's blocking us from hitting reunion. And this is as a collective whole. I'm being shown this. I'm going to show you something in a minute. It's going to be really, really cool. So as a collective whole, we're all 3 degrees of separation. And so the 3 degrees is that we think, first of all, we think that we separate ourselves. So we have to realize I am light. When we realize that we are light, I am, as in the I am presence of the creator, the I am presence of the creator, and I am light, that means there's no separation in self. Self is balanced. And then when we are on the 2nd degree is I am love. And when there's no separation in that, then we're not separated from source. Because we have that direct connection to receive that which we are, and we become that, we bring source into form, creating eternal love. Then, and that's eternal love within ourselves, okay? And then we are, I am one, okay? And then once we become one, there's no separate in ourself, which is coming from the one that we are in the I am love of the oneness of source. Now we are one, we are I am one within self, and now there's no separation with the beloved. So just to recap that in a shorter version, I am light, I am love, I am one. These are the 3 degrees of separation that is keeping us separated, because in our thought process, we see ourselves as separate from all that is. That which we seek is already there. There is no separation. So you have to take these 3 areas I'm talking about and erase the separation, because they're already there and already become one within them, in order to bring it into physical form, manifest that into physical form, and to bring it into your reality, and basically co-creating your life and bringing your dreams and manifesting them into reality. And so as we go through this process, this is an expanded version of some of the ascension work we're doing, because we're already doing the ascension work up to this point. Now we're going through an enlightened expansion. So the enlightened expansion is the 3 degrees of separation. That's what I'm calling the enlightened expansion, the expansion of enlightenment. 3 degrees of separation away from reunion. But it takes union of self and union with Source before you can actually bring the reunion into physical form. Okay, so now what we also have to realize, we have to allow that light in on the inside of us. And we have to learn how that, and to understand that as we evolve, things change. And we are energy, and energy is ever changing. So we have to learn to go with the flow. But what we do is we fight the process, and we let our head take over, and our head blocks what we're trying to accomplish as far as like what we really are seeking. And we think we're seeking it, and we're putting out there what we want, but then we're fighting the process of changing and getting into these 3 degrees of what we want. It's in the 3 degrees. We just got to surrender to the 3 degrees to bring it into form. And it's really already there. And that's why so many people are saying too, it's so close. It's so close. I can feel it. I know this is happening. I know this is coming. It's all right here. This is how you bring it into form, through the 3 degrees of separations, which means you have to surrender to the silence, which means you also have to accept the silence that you have within, and go to the silence within yourself to be bringing this into form. And then you also have to accept the silence from the twin, your beloved, your highest divine partner in this lifetime. You have to accept that silence and surrender to it and realize it's perfect, because it's all part of the process, because everything is perfect the way it is. And I'll share with you more depths of that. So we have to learn to grow with the flow, basically, so we can get in the glow. So we can glow forward on fire, which is the premises of my foundation of my work, which is how this all lines into this, and how it's just like the way it came and flowed out, which is so beautiful. I'm just so excited. So I'm trying to get this out, but at the same time, I'm so excited about this information, because I know it's going to make a lot of changes and a big impact. And I'm super excited about that. I'm very honored to be delivering this message, because I feel like it's, again, something that's just needed. So, so we surrender by learning how to let go, get in the flow, and stop trying to control the process. See, we're trying to control the process. We're trying to control the outcome. We're trying to take an acorn and shift it into the peach tree. We're trying to still, we think we're surrendering, we think we're letting go, and that is our head still controlling and analyzing. But here's what we have to do, and this is how people are like, how do I shift from head to heart? Because it's the battle. So I'm going to explain to you the process of this shifting from head to heart, which is actually, I kind of uncovered this as I was doing this through that ascension work. This is the breakthrough of your rebirth. Okay, which I drew a rebirth card for today's intention card. And after I just said to you about the 7 and the 7, it is a 7-7 card. So the rebirth is what I'm really talking about, is surrendering the lower self to the higher self, and the split between the head and the heart. When in rebirth, it's the hardest part to go through. When you release that lower self and you go up in that vibration, and you're letting go, and it's not just going up, it's expanding out in multidimensional levels. And it's understanding that, so that you can realize it's not just in one dimension. We have multiple dimensions going on. So we have information, all this stuff within us happening on every dimension, every plane, every parallel. And then so many concepts within that. And then so many processes within that. And that's one of the things I'm working on, is breaking this information down into bite-sized pieces. So I'm trying to give you a big overview here, and then I'm going to be doing a series of things that come in and funnel into this as breakdowns of this over. This is what I'm going to share is kind of the big picture, okay? So but anyway, so we have the 7-7 that I was saying right there, which is awesome, and the rebirth. So so anyway, so when we let go, we have to create a bleeding heart. I mean, it just happens. There's no way around it. Not that we have to, but we have to allow it, because it creates a bleeding heart, and it's painful. And I've been having a lot of people come to me and talking about how they've been going through this just recently, and how painful that things are. And basically the pain is coming to crack open the heart and surrender to the process. And that cracking open of the heart is you letting go of you letting go of the paradigms of the old beliefs, the old thoughts, the old patterns, the old things that are no longer serving you purpose. And as you do that, it's like you're in what I call the pit of the night and the pit of hell with yourself. It's like you've already like let go of so many things that when you're in this pit now, there's nobody left but you to confront the man in the mirror. And so by looking at you in the mirror, you're the one that has to now confront yourself. And you're the one that now has to look back within you. And you can't blame anything else around you anymore. And it hurts because it's ripping you apart. It's shedding the skin. It's pulling your heart open so that now with the heart open, you fill it back up with self-love, which now creates the oneness of self. I'm going to say that again. So you have to have a bleeding heart. It has to crack open in the pit of hell with yourself. Nobody to wrestle but yourself. You have to fill it up so that now you create oneness with self, the sacred self. And so now I want to say this too, because this is what everybody talks about when they talk about the Christ consciousness and creating the radiant heart and creating the unconditional love, really, is what I'm trying to say. But it's really boiling down to definitely the Christ conscious heart and expansion of the heart. And expansion is painful. So again, it's creating the balance of this duality of the opposite polarities and realizing that you need to allow yourself to feel every emotion, the good and the bad ones. And if you try to shut any one of those off, I mean, they're all a part of you. And so what it is when you're doing some of the dark work, you feel like you got to let go of all of those pieces. And now it's coming back into acceptance of some of those pieces within yourself, that those pieces need to exist within you and you can't cut them out. And letting go of the idea that you even have to accept that hurts. And at this moment, like I said, this is being on the cross. This is the rebirth of the ascension process. This is where Jesus said, I am the ascension, I am the light, I am the truth, I am the way. We all have to go through this. We don't get out of it. And I can promise you, if you're in this lifetime and you're at this stage of the game, there's no turning back. There's just no turning back. It's going into full acceptance. So it becomes how, this is free will of how fast you want to surrender into the process, so that you can grow with the flow, because it is ever evolving, because energy is ever evolving, is always changing. We have to learn to change with it. We can't keep things constant, which is what we're trying to do when we're in control. Control only constricts the process. And so when you're trying to constrict the process, that is you fighting the change. It's you need to surrender to the path of least resistance. And when you do finally stop fighting that change, that's when you start to get in the knowing. You start to let go of the control and you start to have the patience and you start to understand the trust to the level that you have to go through this process. Because I've been saying through this process, it's a 3-step process, and the whole thing is you're going up a ladder to then walk out on a limb, going up a ladder to put the star on the tree. Now you're being asked to walk out on a limb, and now you're being either one of two things, asked to jump, or you're going to be shoved off the tree. And whether you choose to make that leap or whether you get so many things happen that come through your life that have to smack you around over and over and over. And that's how strong we are when we fight that resistance of the change. So this is the key here. We're fighting the change. All right? And we're not wanting to grow with the flow. Huge thing It is a process, but understanding it's an evolving process, and it's a remote door, and it never stands still. And we're on a fast track. So this is one reason why this is so intense for people, because this stuff is happening in all these multidimensional planes and all these parallels, like I said, and so many things are happening at once. People from the old paradigms are saying, I want to slow down. I want off this wagon. I want off this wheel. I want off this roller coaster. I want out of this scenario. I don't even want the twin dynamic anymore, which we have to get to that phase. It's just, and we have to get to it either way too, that. Because we have to realize it's oneness with ourselves, and we complete ourselves, and we don't need then or anyone else to complete us with the addictions and the codependencies that we're breaking down here. And that's why we're dumping ourselves, we're breaking our heart open to dump everything out that we've put in there up to this point to now fill it back up. And so I just want to kind of tune out and see where I need to kind of come back in here. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything that needed to come through up to this point. So give me 1 second. Okay, so we're good with kind of a lead-in. Now I want to break it down for you for those different 3 degrees of what each one of those 3 degrees. And what I want to say to that too is your divinity is in your deepest shadow work, and you will find the light. And this, what I'm talking about here, is your deepest shadow work. All right, so this is the pit of the night. When I say the deepest shadow work, that pit of the night, the pit of hell, is where you're at when you're in this process. It hurts like hell. Hurts. I remember this process like totally like yesterday. And it does transform you, and it's like why you have to like sometimes, you know, there's a strong rare, and me being strong, that's why I've had to go through so many challenges. But we don't have to take the long way home. Basically, we choose the long way home. The path of least resistance is given to us. So I'm going to talk about I am light. You already are that which you seek. You already are what you're seeking within yourself. So there is no separation of self. It's you just understanding that there is already no separation. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple ways here of how you can help get in this and in the light, to become the light that you already are. That's one of them. To be the light that you're born to be, become the light you already are. And we do that by tapping into our higher consciousness and allowing the awarenesses to come through and to continue to process, integrate, and allow the growth of that expansion to take place and to realize it's happening, which is the identification of it, to realize we're expanding now. So it, again, this is not one plane, we're expanding, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Being open to receive, letting down those walls that are blocking the trust aspect, and going through this process that I'm saying helps you do that layer by layer as we go through the karmic currents that I've talked about before. And when you choose to grow through this with ease and grace, it does, I mean, perception is everything. You know, our thoughts are our reality. So what you focus on expands. So surrender to this concept and shift in your alignment. Just surrendering to the concept is what I'm saying will shift you into alignment. It's that simple. And it's just a matter of you getting out of your own way to do it. And when I talk about getting in the vortex, it is getting alignment. When I talk about getting alignment, this is what I'm saying is you are becoming one with everything. You're getting, so you've got the plan, you're just tuning into the plan. You've got a channel playing your karmic contract out, and you're just turning on the channel. And then everything happens with ease and grace, and everything begins to show up. And now you should get into it with expecting expectations along the way, because it will show up for you. And you start to see that, and that creates more knowing and helps you rid yourself of the doubt. And again, that's another layer of another expansion of another dimension. I'm talking about that this is paralleling everything of the process. And, really just coming into full bloom, expanding. And then the second one of that would be learning how to live naked in life. And that means learning how to live in a glass house, learning how to be open enough to express yourself, enough to not be worried about what other people think, allowing your trust meter to go up. So as your trust meter goes up, you can trust the process and you let go more, and now you expand more, you open up more. And the more that you open up, the more that you learn how to become virtually naked. I've been saying this is part of the self-love, and going through life, living through life naked in the light of eternal love. That's what the process is. And another piece of that is not allowing people to rent space in your head for free, because we get trapped into the concept of what others think, what they say, what they believe in our twin. We take on things for people, meaning like, they might be having a bad day, and you all of a sudden you took on their energy. The thing is, nobody can rob you of your energy unless you give them permission. So really process that. Because if you think you have an energy vampire attached to you, it is only because you're allowing that person to rob you of your energy, and you're not setting the proper boundary within self and honoring your own self, and learning then how to put up, set unconditional boundaries versus walls. People don't always know the difference in that. Learning how to be more assertive, to speak the truth from the heart. And as you let go of breaking that heart open, now how these weave together, as you let go of the things that I had mentioned, and crack open the heart, and you're learning now to create the oneness of yourself. That's creating and filling you up more with love. And as that's filling you up more with love, then you are becoming an expression that is expressing out through your light. That is energy in motion through you. And as you go ahead and you confront, now the third one would be the mirror on the wall, and confronting the man in the mirror. And learning how, like I was saying, to let go of these self-sabotages, let go of the self-anger, let go of the not being good enough, and surrendering, not only letting go of that, okay, and which is letting go of all of that is creating self-acceptance. So that's what we have to do, is create self-acceptance, is one of the ways I'm discussing here. And we create the self-acceptance by letting go of the self-sabotage, the lack of self-worth, the self-anger, and the self-doubts. Those are some things that you gotta let go of in order to create self-acceptance. Once you create self-acceptance, then you stop blocking your own abilities and your own trust and your own knowing that you're trying to fill yourself up with. And then what we do is, once we surrender to the sacred self, I call that now allowing the cycles of self and the seasons of self to unfold. So the cycles of self mean that we're an ever-ending process, and this evolving and this growing, and it won't stop. So don't think you're going to arrive, because that's part of the process. Everybody thinks they're getting to a destination. That's part of the issue here, and that's where the patience comes in, and that's where you got to break down the patience to let go of those patience, and practice patience, and let go of the rushing through this process, and realize it's just an evolution. And that's another form of the letting go. But as you do so, and as you begin to honor these cycles of self, you also have to embrace the seasons of self. And the seasons of self are, we go through the winter, which is our dark night of the soul, and the dark shadow work, in order to release things And this is ever evolving because we're always changing, and we're never going to just get everything we like and going to be 100% perfect and everything we want. We got to revisit that cycle again. You know, when we get to the next cycle, it may no longer serve its purpose again. Everything comes through as it needs to. Everything comes through for a reason and a season. It doesn't stick around. Everything's evolving and changing. So as it comes through, we have to let things go again. And that's the cycles I'm talking about. So embracing the seasons would be embracing the dark shadow work, which is the winter, and then accepting the renewal of spring and being open for that, and then allowing growth to come through the summer so that we can reflect on it and harvest in the fall. So this is what I've set up to be what I call embracing the seasons of self and allowing the cycles of self. And when you put that together, this is ever changing, ever growing with the flow and ever expanding. It doesn't stop. It's a wheel that continues. And the sooner you get on that particular merry-go-round, you're heading in the right direction. So if you're going to be on a merry-go-round where things are constantly changing, moving, and evolving, this is what I'm saying. This will then take you up to the right floor, not suck you in the negative vortex and drain you. Okay? So then another way within that mirror is changing your perception about yourself, changing the way you see yourself, changing the way your reflection back to yourself of what you see, basically. And accepting the self is another form of the acceptance of who you are, what you came here to do, how you feel about yourself. Being able to really just stand in the mirror and look at yourself naked. And there are exercises where people do that and are encouraged to do that, to be able to do that, and it's very powerful. It's a very, very powerful exercise. I'm not saying when you go through life naked to actually get naked, you know, that, because that's how naked you have to be to create that union, really. I mean, honestly, that's a representation of the depths of nakedness I'm talking here. I'm not just saying go do it, but what I am saying is you have to feel that naked in order to be able to manifest it and bring it into form. And if you still have a shadow in there that says that's blocking you, it's still going to be your shadow, and you're still going to have to work on that area. But again, we have to have the shadow to have the light. So it's the duality I started out talking about here. We have to embrace both. You can't get rid of, you can't just think you're going through this ascension process, you're going to get to the light, all the dark is gone. You have to embrace the dualities that I'm mentioning here. So, you know, all right, so I'm talking about loving the one in the mirror and the mirror on the wall, basically. And I believe that sums that one up. I just want to say something about the patience, though. Patience is nothing more than a reroute in order for you to be able to figure out your next lesson, which the way you do that is silence of the self. And if you need to do that, if your twin is running from you, that you call the runner, when you need to go into silence of self, and that creates the music. And that's what also creates the duality between the union itself, of the duality of they're doing some dark work, you're doing some light work, but within each of you, you're doing light and dark work. And that's how, like, you embrace, too, like another way of the one and one and being balanced. So I'm talking about the dualities within each of you, and the dualities have to create union with and oneness with each of you before you can reunion together. Okay, so number 2 of this, the second degree of separation out of the 3 degrees of separation, the second one is I am love. And the only purpose in life is to love. And when we basically separate our source, separate from source, we are separating from love, is what it is. And so there is no separate, if we see it as no separation from source, and realize that we are already source, and realize that source is love, then we are love. And that is how and where we create our self-love from. Then everybody's, how do I get self-love? You have to realize that the love is already inside of you because you are source, and source is eternal love. And it's already there. It is already there. And to realize that there's a harmonic balance in love itself and all of this and that I'm mentioning, and that it is all perfect, and that instead of fighting the process, including the silence of your twin and feeling this heartbreak, that even the heartbreak, the bleeding heart is perfect, because it's what it takes you to fill you up, because you can't get out of this process. It is part of the process. You can't skip it. Therefore, it is perfect. Therefore, it is in harmonic balance of the dualities of the hell and the heaven. So you got to go to hell before you can get to heaven. Basically, that is the duality. Whenever I said we have to create balance, and the science of surrender is in, when we talk about surrender here, the science is in the silence, and the art of it is in the duality of that, and then creating the balance of this dualities and silence, and then accepting it all. And then once we accept it all, that means we are accepting basically our source, and we are accepting all that is with source. Therefore, we're not creating separation from source. Okay? Source is a divine connection to great love. It is divine energy. It is divine love. And that is source. And so I said, you know, like, we are energy. Energy exists. Energy can flow and grow and expand, or it can constrict and create, the constriction, which is the pain. But we need both of those to create neutrality, which is oneness of all. We can't cut any of it out. Energy is ever evolving, changing, growing with the flow. This raises our vibration. When we raise our vibration and connect to source, we are connecting to the direct source of eternal love. We are love. We're already in love. And therefore we're already one with us, and one with the connection of the love within our beloved, and the one with all that is. There's no separation in any of it. It's all there. And this is how we tune into it, is all we're doing. So energy expands and grows with the flow is what I mentioned. So we also, in this alignment, like I was saying earlier, expecting things to show up, and then basically embracing the journey of the beauty in the journey, that it's a beautiful thing, that it's a gift. The silence is a gift. Your twin is a gift, not a curse. So I call this my 5 E's for enlightenment. And that is: energy exists, energy evolves, energy expands, expect energy, and then embrace energy. Embrace the beauty, embrace the change, embrace the journey. Embracement. It's the 5 E's of enlightenment. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. This is how we get into becoming I am love. We get out of the mind and we get into heart, and we can only do that through becoming the I am light, by going through the pit of hell, surrendering, letting go, rebirthing, expanding, and growing with the flow. And that will help us get through the bleeding heart, fill ourselves up with ourselves, and now we can glow forward on fire with oneness, which that is what oneness is. So we fill ourselves up, we're one, and now we can start to live from a place of heart and not head. We can view life through your heart and not your head. Now, when we do this, what we do, and the way I, explain this is then once we become love, we can show up as love, which is self-love. And so then once we are that, we can be love, which is source love. And then from there, we can share love, because now we have it inside of us to, give back. And then when we share love, we become love with all that is. When we do that, we start to love life, which means now we've become an expression of the Creator, which is love. And now that makes us eternal love, an expression of eternal love. And that's how we bring God into form. And that's how we are the anatomy of God. So move beyond the mind. The heart beats is the message there. So, there's some energy there. Give me 1 second. Whew. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you're feeling this. So, the 3rd degree and the 3 degrees of separation is I am one. I am one with everything. Therefore, it is all perfect. We don't have to be in control and change anything, because it already is what it is. We're only screwing it up if we try. We're only prolonging the process, and we're sure as hell slowing down and causing the separation between us and our twin, because we are not becoming one within ourselves. We are one with self. We are one with love. We are one with source. We lead with love. We are one with love. We share the love. We are one with purpose. We love life. When we love life, we love all of our life. All of our life. It is all perfect. Then we become oneness with all, because we became oneness with ourselves. And this raises our love vibration. And this will break the silence. Because now there is no separation. Separation does not exist. We haven't got into the alignment with all that is. And so we bring it into form when we do that. And I want to share with you, I feel like now is the time to share with you what that looks like in form. And then I have a little story to share with you. And then I feel like we're complete, but there's so much energy coming through right now. I'm just trying to absorb it for a second, because this is super, super powerful. Okay. All right. So this is how we're one with all. Okay. So there's different components to this. And this is how, when I said there's multi-dimensions going on here, multi-parallels, and different cycles, and a lot of things happening at one time. So I'm going to give you a scenario of that. Starts with ourself. I'm going to do it in the way of I am light, I am love, and I am one. Okay? So this here would be our us. All of it. This would be our lower self expanding into the higher self. This would be our shadow work, while this is our expansion and our enlightenment. You can't have one without the other. You just can't. It's the duality of it. This is becoming I am the light, because we are energy and we come from light. This is letting our inner light shine. This is becoming one with self, which means I am light, and means I'm not separate, because I am of all the same pieces. I am one. It's all exists. We got the spokes making the connection. The energy attachments keeping it all anchored. Second would be I am love. This would be our creator, our source energy, our eternal love that source provides for us. This is the world. This is us as people. We are all connected. We are all one. We all plug into source. We are all already exist in alignment with source. It already is here. Within that, we have a spectrum of every type of person you can imagine. We have, you know, like the dark, we have the light, we have all kinds of stuff happening. And the depths of dualities is how deep you go in this, is how high up you expand. So back to your own self on this, the depths of you, of how far deep you go into yourself and how deep your shadow work is, that's how great your expansion becomes. So we have a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. I don't even like to claim that. But I'm going to claim it because it's part of the duality of acceptance of all. It takes it all. You can't have one without the other. We'll never have. Like, duality exists. You can't cut it out. You can't erase it. You can only embrace it. And do your piece in the puzzle and the pie and the wheel that you came here to do, and get in your alignment with what your piece in this puzzle, this wheel is. That's your only job. And your only job is to love yourself and to love life and to get in the purpose of love. That is getting in alignment with your source. There's no separation. Everything exists here. Everything for your journey, your finances, everything, your relationships, it's all here. The third one is I am one. And that is when we have created the scenario. We are one because we've said it. But with the one, when we become one, we no longer have separation with our beloved, our other half, our divine highest partner in this lifetime, our twin flame, our twin soul, our soulmate, whatever it was that was in your journey. And to realize that every piece of the journey was needed. Every relationship between you, every relationship with what your twin's going on, it's all perfect. Because they have to experience it before they're going to get it, and they're going to get their own wake up. But the more you do your inner work, the more you do your shadow work, and the more you expand and create the oneness of self, the more they're going to follow the same pattern. Because now there is no separation in it. So there can be no separation. And that, my friends, will stop the separation that's going on that everybody's complaining about right now. Because the separation does not even exist. Only we think it does. Because we are crying about the fact and going through codependencies and the abandonment and the issues that we have to release of the past. And not that, here's the thing, we have to embrace them. We have to stop letting them control us. And yes, we cut the cords to some of the energetic attachments, but we embrace all of that. It comes up to clear. It comes up to identify. It comes up to make our awarenesses. We're getting the information to come up so we can put our puzzle pieces together, creating our big picture. So that now we understand the process of our evolution of our own soul's journey. Okay, now I want to share with you just a little story here about I have another friend that we discovered was a twin that discovered we also have a twin flame facilitator dynamic going on, and I've been working on all of this information yesterday. I had twins that I'm working with from all over, out of nowhere, sending me signals and links to pieces of stuff that were just flying in and flying out, just back and forth, and coming in just as in collectively confirming my revelations about this and lots of other things. Lots more than this, because channeled an entire book yesterday. And so I won't go into the details, but it was a divine appointment that we even spoke, because we hadn't spoke in a while and we've been needing to catch up. And he had had some things going on during the day that was making him very angry. Very, very angry. And so, I mean, we just hit the races as soon as we didn't even, you know, when we come together and talk, it wasn't even like, well, how have you been? What's going on here? Da, da, da. It was just like, boom, this is what's happening. And that's just how we take off on a fast track. Like huge, huge fast track. And so one of the biggest things was he was super angry because there was some things that went on at work, and he was blaming himself for it, and then he was beating himself up and sabotaging himself because he thought everything should have been perfect and he should have been over all of this stuff by now, and that he should just be in alignment, and he knows better, and he should have already been where he was wanting to, and he'd get on with his life and just be in what he thinks, ego thinks, and perfection. And so, and he'll be watching this video too, so I'm sure he'll be laughing about right now. So he had also, here was another thing, he had went and been eating very healthy, and then he got off the wheel of sabotage and decided he was going self-sabotage, of thinking it was self-sabotage by going to get Chinese food and having been eating healthy. First of all, that's where his anger started because he was angry at himself because he wasn't eating a perfect diet like he thought he should be up to this point, because of when, you know, and now that sent him on this cycle of getting a fortune cookie of all things. And the fortune cookie said, I wrote it down here, a dream will always triumph over reality once it's given a chance. A dream will always triumph over reality once it's given a chance. Well, let's just say he at first thought it was perfect, and then he didn't give it a chance, because then he got pissed off at himself because he thought he was lying to himself about his whole reality, and that he really was lying about to himself, because ego was coming in, edging God out, thinking he had to be in control of the situation, forgetting about patience, forgetting about surrendering, forgetting about acceptance, having a pity party about the rejection and the abandonment, and the idea that he needed to be in control and not wanting to surrender, and then not having the patience, and then he was in the circle of that going round and round and round and round and round, and to the point the energy was so extreme that we got disconnected. And even to this right now, I don't know if I'm assuming the energy definitely disconnected. I don't know if he hung up on me. I don't know if he, you know, his phone went dead, if he lost service, but we lost service. And so, end of story, you know? And so, but the point being is he thought everything needed to be perfect, but because he had these things happen that he was not facing his fears, or they actually were part of him, he was trying to cut out, meaning he was sick of being, tired of being angry, and he was actually sabotaging everything, but he was not allowing himself to feel the dark side of himself. He thought he should just be this enlightened being going on with his life and not being stuck there at this point. But he had to have the shadow work. This takes him deeper again, and he had a super great resistance with this. I mean, he texted me this morning saying he got his answer and he surrendered and all of those pieces. But the bottom line is we have to have the inner work first before our outer work becomes a reality. And so, you know, basically what that means is, you know, what my response to him was really is, you are the dream. You are the reality. There is no separation. You know, you're already living the dream. The dream already exists. It's right here, right now. Only you are seeing yourself separate from the perfection, because what's happening right now is perfect. And the acceptance of that and allowing that is learning to grow with the flow, rather than fighting the process that then sets you up for sabotage and then puts you on the negative vortex spiral again. But that's perfect, because you then have to go within yourself to dig out another layer to do more shadow work in order to release more of what's going to expand you. So you're digging down, pulling something up, looking at it, expanding. Digging down, pulling something up, looking at it, expanding. It's never going to change until we end the dash from the time we were born to the time that we're going to die. This is the dash in between. And so I just want to see, I feel like we're completing here. I want to see if there's any other pieces that need to come through, any other summing up. I want to stop for a second and allow guidance to kind of like reposition, you know, all of this for me. So give me 1 second here. Sorry, it's a lot of energy. I can still feel it. So one of the things I teach people is that if you want the ultimate relationship, that it starts with you. So if you are seeking the ultimate relationship, then I highly suggest you consider this, watch this, and re-watch this, and learn how to surrender to this duality of silence and find that everything is perfect as it is. And that by bringing in the oneness aspect, we are bringing God and everything else into form, and that everything is already perfect. Because I am light, I am love, and I am one. And therefore, it is all perfect. It is all part of the plan. And we just have to get in the alignment of this wheel, of these last 3 minutes. The last 3 minutes, and people want to give up because they have been going through an eternity of hell, and they're here at the finish line. And trust me, I get it, but you know, it's time to get up, dust yourself off, and to get in there and dig deep in that pit of hell, in the pit of the night. It's painful. Break your heart open, let it happen, to fill yourself up with self-love, and that completes the oneness of yourself, that now you become oneness with self, oneness with source, oneness with love, oneness with purpose, and oneness with life, and oneness with your beloved, and you love everything about it. Now, that doesn't mean 100% of the time because of dualities, but you will embrace the journey. And that, my friends, is the greatest gift of love that comes from our Creator to us, that is ours, if we just ask, listen, and allow. And then we stop long enough to hear our answers that only come in the silence. Much love to you. Many blessings. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Please comment on this. Please like, share the shine, and have a beautiful, beautiful, loving day. Namaste.